Thanks very much, Bob, ladies and gentlemen. Well, Bob, I don't know that I'll tell everyone the history of Tom McIlwraith in 5 minutes that you've allotted me, but we'll mention a few aspects of it. But the book I have produced, which is The Queensland Caesar, Sir Thomas McIlwraith, covers McIlwraith warts and all. Covers his business aspects, his political aspects in particular, economics. It covers Queensland's colonial history. It covers McIlwraith the visionary. It covers McIlwraith the engineer. Because McIlwraith was all of these things. He was one of the two giants of colonial Queensland's political history, the other being Sir Samuel Griffith. And they started off as arch enemies, which I haven't got time to go through at the moment, but you can read all about it. Ended up in a coalition government. And of course, Griffith ends up as Chief Justice of Queensland. You know, everybody skirted around how Sam became the Chief Justice of Queensland, so I had to spend some time resolving that issue, which I did. It's a very interesting story in itself. But McIlwraith was all about progress. And a classical laissez-faire liberal underpinned his works and what he achieved in the progress for this state. During his time, McIlwraith can be described as the father of the sugarcane industry, or the sugar industry. I mean, he did more for the sugar industry than anyone else during the colonial period. It was on the decline till he took over as Premier and encouraged people to get on with planting of sugarcane up and down the coast. And eventually he got hold of the central mills and made them function effectively as we have them today. The dairy industry, again, not much was happening until McIlwraith took hold of that. The beef industry, and of course, if you go back to 1880, he was on hand to greet at the East India Docks in London the first shipment of frozen beef from Australia to London. Again, all entrepreneurial, putting at risk all of his assets. And of course, I mention warts and all because McIlwraith ended up not in a very good situation at all. He was in London, ill, couldn't move, with peripheral neuritis. Well, they believed it was that in the 1890s. We probably diagnose it differently today. But the situation is that he ended up owing the Queensland National Bank some £170,000. Now, that might sound a lot, but compared to some others, it was small bickies indeed. And that's not why people disliked McIlwraith over a period of time, but it was the period of the rise of socialism, the working newspaper, and McIlwraith was seen to stand for the enterprise system for and progress for things that others were opposed to and the manner in which he went about it. McIlwraith, of course, being a classical laissez-faire liberal, was an adherent of Adam Smith, and to a lesser extent John Stuart Mill, which you can read all about. And it's interesting when you read about Adam Smith or read his works, very different from what the economists interpret Adam Smith had said or didn't say. So that in itself is another story. But McIlwraith was all about progress, and progress for Queensland. And it's appropriate, despite of all the issues that might have overtaken him in the end, that because this is called the Australian Institute of Progress, I'm not sure why the directors, the founders, chose to call the McIlwraith lectures, but it is appropriate that someone who is so dedicated to Queensland's progress, not Australia, but Queensland. After all, he didn't try to annex Eastern New Guinea for no good reasons. He wanted that to protect Queensland from foreign countries. And how right he was. How right he was yet again. In fact, when you go through McIlwraith's history, all the issues he took up, and the manner he took them up, proved to be correct in hindsight. It's very interesting indeed. But to go through all of this, one needs to read it chapter by chapter. But he's a classical laissez-faire liberal, something which people today believe that he was, or historians prior to me saw him as a conservative. That wasn't the case at all. And the classical laissez-faire liberal underpinned all of his aspects for progress. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. I'm sure you'll enjoy the lectures and support the Institute. Thank you.